Hey guys, Steve Buller. Today we got to look at the buffed Cleveland. What do you mean buffed Cleveland? Norm Scott's the Cleveland commander for the United States Navy. He got a massive buff. That's how you should be setting it up. You need to set him up for a double fire chance. He's the premier light cruiser commander for the Americans. So you buff him, you buff the entire line. Cleveland being the crown jewel of the line, got a big buff. What was the buff? He got the same perk that Kuznetsov and Makarov had for the Russian cruiser lines previously. I call it the IFHE-esque perk. I have no idea what it's actually called. Increases penetration of HE shells by 30%. Decreases damage and fire chance now is a new addition to it. Doesn't matter. This is a massive damage multiplier. How does it work? HE shells, most of them, there's a couple exceptions we're not going to get into here. Most of them have 1/6 other caliber penetration. So for instance, Cleveland, we have 152 millimeter guns. You multiply that by a 6, you'll wind up with 25 point something or other. That means these shells can penetrate 25 millimeter surfaces. That's when you see those damage numbers pop up on the screen. A lot of armor, especially at tier 6, tier 7, legendary tier, which are the tiers that Cleveland's going to be facing, can stop those normal American 152 HE shells from penetrating, forcing you to rely primarily on the fire chance. But if we increase that by 30%, now all of a sudden we're penetrating 32 millimeters, potentially 33, depending on how they round that number. And that's much more of the armor, if not the vast majority of the armor, I believe. I'm not really a numbers type of a guy. I'm a field player type of a guy. But I believe 32 millimeters, that's most of the surfaces that these are going to be hitting, except for like turrets and, heavily armored parts of battleships. So all of a sudden we're getting a lot more raw damage from the shells. And we're going to see in this game fire chance, even if it's got a 2% debuff or whatever number it actually is, you're still going to get plenty of fire. So, well, that's assuming you have Norm Scott with max fire chance set up on your light cruisers. That's what I would strongly recommend. Kincaid, if you don't have Einstein, I think fits the heavy cruiser better, mainly because the main drawback of that line is the abysmal turret traverse, and Kincaid does have Ingenious, which will significantly boost that. If you do have Einstein, of course, you can get that same perk plus Einstein's additional turret traverse buff. So anyway, Norm Scott should be your light cruiser commander in my opinion, and you should have him set up for fire chance. And you're going to see here, now we have the option for huge HE raw damage, huge HE fire damage, and potentially you can even set it up for more AP damage than I have my build set up. Slot 3, I got incoming fire dispersion. I combine that with buy-in, and I combine that with the ship's camo, and I combine that with the concealment mod in slot 3. That's 4 boosts to the incoming dispersion, and that's going to make it a lot harder to hit this ship. I personally strongly like that build. I suspect almost all of you guys that are going to set up your Clevelands are going to put all 3 offensive boosts to Norm Scott, both the HE fire chances and the AP penetration. However you want to do it, this thing definitely pumps out the damage. I'm not finding the AP performance lacking even without that boost to the AP performance on slot 3. I'd prefer to go with the survivability build because these American cruisers, of course, can get blown up quite quickly. Anyway, we're going to be jumping into this game a little bit more here. We've been trying to clear out the side. We got a domination mode game in Atlantic, of course. Wichita, I'm being a little aggressive here. I'm not concerned about capping the base. They can go ahead and reset me all they want. We got to get rid of the Wichita. Number 1, very strong ship. Number 2, it is preventing us from getting this cap, and we would like to flip the cap and capture it eventually. But until this Wichita is removed, we can't do it. He, of course, has radar if one of our destroyers tries to get on here, or if someone like me, a cruiser, tries to cap, he's just too close. He can just keep resetting us. Now that we've killed him, we're going to take a couple shots to scare the Cleveland off here, and then we're going to go ahead and stop shooting, I believe. And that's just to make sure we get the cap. And now look at what's going on the map. See his position? He's going due south. He's kiting away. he's using the aspect of the kiting strategy, which is to draw the unaware opponents after you into strategically insignificant positions. It works out brilliantly on a couple of my teammates. Unfortunately for him, we're not going to fall for it. So how that effectively works is he's going to continue to sail away. These two ships over here are going to chase after him. So he's taking two ships off of our roster, taking them out of position, making them ineffective, and he's kind of sacrificing himself to do so. Had I also fallen for it, now he's drawing a third of our team away from those caps, away from the objectives, away from what really matters. Because this is a domination mode game. We've already set up the win conditions. How do we win domination mode? We capture a flank, we capture the center, and then we defend the center from the other weak flank. So you can see we've already set up the win condition. We're getting in a position to defend B because I try and win the game when I play this game. But had I been more concerned about shooting this Cleveland for whatever reason, we would very likely be involved in a throw at that point in time. Anyway, now we're setting up into defensive cruiser mode. This is a class of ship I didn't end up covering for the strategy guide. You guys, the ratings weren't quite there for that series towards the tail end, so we went ahead and canceled it. But defensive cruisers was going to be the third category cruisers. The main idea behind that is kind of the Gandalf on the narrow bridge saying, "Thou shalt not cometh forward no more," and then, just putting a line in the sand and then daring the enemy to draw it or walk over that line. So here basically we're saying, you can't capture B. We need to hold B because that's our key to winning this game. And these guys are going to desperately try and push into B, but they're going to encounter adverse weather. Golden showers splashing them in the eyes and making life quite uncomfortable and sticky for them. So this is quite dangerous for any ship to push into these. And this is what the American light cruisers, the Russian cruisers, these defensive type cruisers, this is what they excel in. Holding down positions, daring the enemy to essentially kill themselves, trying to push into them, and just making things exceedingly dangerous in terms of, kind of area denial type of gameplay. Odin's backing up. Of course, we'd like to kill him, but if he gets out of range before we can kill him, no big deal. Again, what are we doing? We're holding B. That's all we need to do to win this game. All we have to do is focus on that job, and all is well and good. Now, if the Odin gets away, he's probably got, multiple heals, so he's going to come back with more HP. That's fine, as long as we got spotters. And if you didn't notice earlier there, Yudachi killed themselves by torpedoing a battleship within the first 2 minutes of the game. He loaded on to the next game thinking to himself, wow, I got that Iowa pretty good game, huh guys? No, you screwed your team, because now we can spot all these ships. I don't need to worry about really any incoming fire, because I can just go behind this island whenever they look my way, and we can just bomb on these guys for the rest of the game. So there's nothing they can do as long as our destroyer doesn't get himself killed. He's going into A to help pressure that and potentially flip it, but he's maintaining line of sight on these guys over here. So good job, everyone on our team spotting. And if you got a light cruiser like the Cleveland, just holding down the forward here, along with other good support from our team. A lot of good shots coming in on these guys as we see here. But this is just impossible for the red team to win. You can see though, look at their Cleveland on the map. He's made it all the way to the bottom white line, still drawing those guys in. So very good, strong play there. Conceptually, he would be neutralizing an entire flank had we fallen for his trick. But unfortunately for him, we're hip to his jive. We're, aware of what kiting ships are trying to do. But if you can get 3 ships to follow you like that, you've wiped out the entire flank, essentially, if you want to conceptually visualize how strong of a play that is. Anyway, you can see here, raw damage, and this is Cleveland. Of course, you'd get some raw damage depending on which ship you'd be shooting at. Iowa, usually juicy superstructure in those USN battleships, so maybe we'd be getting some decent damage on these type of salvos anyways. But with the build now, and if you're going to run these, basically if you have any lower caliber type gun like 152s, any of these light cruisers, if you have the option to put this IFHE perk on there, go ahead and slap it on there. It's just kind of a no-brainer. We were talking about that in the Abruzzi video the other day, yesterday I think it was. where that would be another ship that would strongly benefit from that perk. And it's kind of at a major disadvantage because now the USN cruisers and the Russian cruisers, same gun calibers, have it, access to that perk. Italian light cruisers, they don't have it. Here we almost put the cherry on top of this thing, but luckily one of our Alaskas bails us out and gets the kill right at the end there. Anyway, that's a look at the updated buffed Cleveland via Norm Scott buff. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. Lots of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave below. Let me hear from you. And we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.